April 27th, 2011. Alabama. Wednesday morning in the American South, and spring had arrived with all its usual promises. Children boarded school buses in Tuscaloosa, while coffee brewed in Hackleburg's downtown diners. Factory workers clocked in for another shift, unaware that the day ahead would rewrite history. The Storm Prediction Center had issued a forecast the night before. High risk, 45% hatched probability for tornadoes. It was the highest threat level they could issue.
Have this high risk of severe weather. You all know by now this is relatively rare and very substantial threat for much of north and central Alabama.
Most people didn't know what those numbers meant. By nightfall, 316 of them would be dead. 2011 had started like any other year. Then April arrived, and with it came a pattern that would alarm meteorologists nationwide.
I just remember looking at Gary, our news director, and saying, "Gary, have I ever told you that I expected a violent tornado outbreak with mass casualties before?" And he says, "No." I said, "Well, today's that day."
April 8th to 11th, first outbreak. 59 tornadoes, 9 dead. April 14th to 16th, second outbreak. 177 tornadoes, 38 dead.
Chandler, go the back. I'm not kidding.
April 19th to 20th, third outbreak. 51 tornadoes, 3 dead. 3 major outbreaks in 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Meteorologists watched with growing concern, knowing the atmospheric conditions showed no signs of weakening. Then came April 25th to 28th. April 2011 alone.
Keep going. Watch out, it's a big multi-vortex. I see. We're getting closer.
751 tornadoes, the previous record for any month. 542. These 4 days produced 362 confirmed tornadoes, the largest outbreak ever recorded.
It woke me up, and it was the most awful noise I had ever heard, and evidently coaling took a direct hit.
Damage, $10.2 billion. Deaths, 348. By year's end, 2011 would claim 553 lives from tornadoes. More than the previous decade combined. April 27th, just before 4 in the morning, Mississippi. A squall line pushed east through darkness, bringing torrential rain and wind that bent trees horizontal. Lightning split the sky every few seconds. Then the first tornado dropped from the clouds, invisible in the pre-dawn blackness.
She's right here in our backyard. Look at Bella. She's like...
Tornadoes at night kill more people. No visibility, no way to see what's coming. Just sirens in the darkness and hope. By 6 a.m., damage was visible across Mississippi and Alabama. Trees blocked roads, power lines lay severed, homes sat with roofs peeled back. In Cordova, Alabama, an EF3 had struck at 5:14 a.m., destroying 13 buildings. People emerged at dawn to assess damage. They fired up chainsaws, spread tarps over roofs. Worked through the morning cleaning up. By 2 p.m., they were making progress. Then the sirens sounded again.
Holy shit, I got it, dude.
Get outside and video it.
Another tornado warning. Cordova. Again. Some evacuated immediately. Others sheltered in place, too exhausted to run. At 2:47 p.m., an EF4 struck the same town. What the EF3 had damaged, the EF4 erased. 13 people in Cordova died, all killed by the second tornado, the one they hadn't expected. Schools had cancelled classes that morning due to power outages. Children stayed home instead of gathering in buildings that would later be destroyed. That decision saved lives. By 8 a.m., Residents believed the worst had passed. Insurance adjusters were arriving. People called families to say they were okay. The atmosphere had other plans. 11:30 in the morning. New thunderstorms formed over western Mississippi. Meteorologists saw supercells developing, each showing rotation. The atmosphere was primed.
That is a massive tornado.
Temperature 80 degrees, dew point 70, wind shear extreme. The combination created Cape values exceeding 3,000, numbers that appear in textbooks as theoretical maximums.
That's so powerful.
The clash of warm surface air with frigid winds aloft had turned the atmosphere into a loaded gun. The National Weather Service issued warnings. Extremely dangerous situation developing. Tornado emergency. Take cover now. But people were busy with morning cleanup. They didn't see the warnings. They didn't know that 50 miles west, the afternoon's nightmare was taking shape. 12:15 p.m. The first afternoon tornado dropped in Mississippi. EF3, 1 death. Just a preview. 3:45 in the afternoon. Smithville, Mississippi. Population 900. A tornado formed southwest of town. The National Weather Service issued a tornado emergency. 205 miles per hour winds. EF5, the strongest possible rating.
This is the tornado that just passed over our house.
The warning gave Smithville 4 minutes. Some sheltered, some drove away, some stood watching, unable to process what they were seeing. The tornado was a mile wide. At 3:52 p.m., it moved through Smithville, and in less than a minute, the town ceased to exist as it had been. City Hall disappeared. The post office collapsed. The police station scattered across the county. 18 homes weren't destroyed. They were removed. Concrete slabs remained, but everything else was gone.
Heard the tornado coming, and it just sounded like a big old, it sounded like a big jet engine with trash just blowing through it. It was just, you could hear trash.
Picked up and carried away by winds strong enough to strip bark from trees and asphalt from roads. When the roar stopped, survivors found silence. 14 dead. One woman stood on her foundation slab, staring at the empty space where her life had been.
Look at how rough these guys are looking. It's very unstable. All the way up.
3 p.m., Marion County, Alabama. Another supercell, another tornado. EF5, winds exceeding 200 miles per hour. This one would stay on the ground for 80 miles, violent for 2 straight hours. Hackleberg sat in its path. Population, 1,500 people who had lived there for generations. The warning gave them 6 minutes. At 3:17 p.m., the tornado arrived. The high school collapsed in seconds. The fire station crumbled. The clothing factory disintegrated. Every business on Main Street destroyed. Entire blocks reduced to concrete slabs. Trees that had stood for a century were stripped to stumps. Cars crushed into unrecognizable metal. 72 people killed. 18 in Hackleburg, 27 in Phil Campbell. The rest scattered along 80 miles of destruction. Years later, a resident describes what happens when storm clouds gather. The sky gets dark and my niece goes to pieces. She starts shaking. Post-traumatic stress from 6 minutes that felt like forever. Another resident. It no longer feels like home. Hackleberg rebuilt. New houses, new roads, new businesses. But it's not the same town. 4:43 p.m. Tuscaloosa, Alabama. University town, 90,000 people. Home to the University of Alabama, filled with students finishing final exams. A supercell approached from the southwest, and meteorologist James Spann had been tracking it for the past hour on ABC 33/40's continuous coverage. "Get underground now," he said, his voice carrying the weight of someone who knew exactly what was coming. This is life-threatening. The tornado formed 5 miles southwest of the city. Radar showed it clearly, a debris ball indicating the funnel was already on the ground and destroying everything in its path.
Look how big that thing is!
Width, 1.5 miles. EF4. Winds at 190 miles per hour. Forward speed, just 50 miles per hour. That slow movement would prove catastrophic. The longer a tornado takes to pass, the longer each structure is exposed to its winds, the more complete the destruction. At 5:10 p.m., the tornado entered Tuscaloosa. Alberta City neighborhood took the first hit. The Crescent East apartment complex, 3-story buildings that housed hundreds of students and families, was reduced to rubble in less than 10 seconds. Wood, bricks, furniture, and cars were ground together into piles that rose 30 feet high. Impossible to tell where one building ended and another began. A shopping center shredded, its roof peeling back and walls collapsing outward. Businesses that had been there for decades became piles of debris, marked only by signs that somehow survived. DCH Regional Medical Center, the main hospital for the region, lost windows across its entire south face. Roof sections peeled away, exposing the 4th floor to the sky. Patients in rooms that suddenly had no walls stared in shock at the destruction around them. Nurses threw themselves over patients to shield them from flying glass. Doctors continued surgeries even as windows exploded around them, refusing to abandon their patients. Hospital staff evacuated hundreds of patients down stairwells during the tornado itself, carrying those who couldn't walk, dragging others, protecting everyone they could. Not a single person in the hospital died.
It was the most horrifying thing I've ever been through.
The tornado moved on to Forest Lake, a neighborhood of expensive homes where families had invested their life savings. On one block, 47 houses stood before the tornado arrived. When it left, 3 remained standing, and both of those were so severely damaged they'd have to be demolished. Vehicles overturned and crushed. Trees that had provided shade for generations snapped at ground level. Swimming pools sucked dry, their water pulled into the funnel. Concrete foundations cracked under the stress. In some places, the tornado was so violent, it peeled the asphalt from the roads. John Nero had lived in Forest Lake for 20 years. He and his wife sheltered in a closet and somehow survived. When he emerged, he pointed to an empty space. It used to be an apartment complex right there, flattened, but I could hear people hollering under the debris. His wife had a heart attack 2 days later. The doctors said it was stress-induced. Michael and Flora Thomas sheltered in their bathroom. Michael watched through the window as a church roof flew toward their house, tumbling end over end. He dove to the floor just before it hit. The roof missed their house by feet. When they finally emerged, they found that nearly every other house on their block was gone. Body parts everywhere, Michael said later, his voice flat with shock. You look around and know things will never be the same. The tornado exited Tuscaloosa and continued into Birmingham suburbs, Holt, Concord, Pleasant Grove. More neighborhoods erased, more lives destroyed. It finally lifted near Tarrant City after traveling 80 miles over 90 minutes.
Yeah, this is your house street right here.
65 people dead, over 1,000 injured, 5,300 homes destroyed in Tuscaloosa alone. The cleanup would take 6 months and cost $100 million, and that was just for debris removal. The University of Alabama's main campus was largely spared, but student housing took devastating hits. 15 students died off campus that day. The university postponed final exams, brought in counselors, and cancelled classes. Graduation ceremonies were delayed. Bryant-Denny Stadium, which normally hosted 100,000 screaming football fans, was transformed into a distribution center filled with pallets of supplies and volunteers working around the clock. Aerial photographs taken before and after told a stark story. Before, green neighborhoods with leafy streets and orderly rows of homes. After, brown scars cutting through the landscape. Nothing but concrete slabs and debris where life had been. The tornadoes didn't stop. While Tuscaloosa counted bodies, another EF4 hit Coleman.
Tornado right there! Tornado! Gonna hit it! I'm gonna get hit!
another in Ohatchee, another in Shoal Creek Valley. 22 more dead. In Ohatchee, one neighborhood had 23 homes before the tornado. After, 2 remained, both uninhabitable. 11 people killed in a quarter-mile stretch. At 6:30 p.m., another EF5 struck Rainsville, Alabama. Winds over 200 miles per hour. The town wasn't destroyed. It was scoured. 25 killed. First responders arrived to find bare earth where neighborhoods had been. 1 paramedic. It looked scraped clean. 7 p.m. An EF4 crossed the Georgia-Tennessee border. Ringgold, Georgia demolished. Apperson, Tennessee shredded. 20 dead in one tornado. By 8 p.m., the power grid collapsed. Over 100 transmission towers destroyed. Northern Alabama plunged into darkness. No power, no phones, no communication. Even weather radio transmitters went offline. People couldn't receive warnings anymore. Isolated in darkness, surrounded by devastation. Midnight. As the day finally ended, emergency responders across Alabama began compiling reports, trying to understand the scope of what had happened. 316 people killed on April 27th alone.
People are dying.
The highest single-day tornado death toll since 1925. Over 2,400 injured, hundreds of thousands without power, entire counties sitting in darkness with their communication systems destroyed. 901 centers that were still operational were completely overwhelmed. Some were running on backup generators, others were entirely offline. In rural areas, survivors waited for help with no way to call for it. No cell service, no landlines. Just darkness and debris, and the hope that someone would come. Some people walked miles through the wreckage to find working phones. Some waited until morning. Some were found by neighbors searching through the rubble. Some weren't found at all. But the statistics don't tell the real story. Danielle Downs was a University of Alabama senior, 23 years old, finishing her final exams and planning for graduation. She sheltered in her Tuscaloosa apartment when the tornado hit. Her roommate survived. Danielle didn't. Her mother, Tina, arrived the next day and spent hours searching through rubble. "I just wanted to find her," she said. "I needed to bring her home." In Hackleberg, a woman grabbed her 6-year-old son as the tornado hit, pulling him down as the wind tried to lift him into the air. She held on while the wind pulled harder, her arms straining, refusing to let go. She won. They both survived. Years later, she still has nightmares. Every time it storms, she says, I see his face, terrified. In Pleasant Grove, a man and his wife had seconds to react. She grabbed their baby. He grabbed their 3-year-old. They huddled in the hallway as their house literally exploded around them. When the roar stopped, they were sitting in open air, no walls, no roof, just them and their children, miraculously untouched. The baby was crying. The 3-year-old was silent. In shock, they sat there for 20 minutes before neighbors found them, unable to move, unable to process what had happened. "We were just sitting there," the father said later, "in the middle of nothing." In Rainsville, a family of 4 sheltered together in their hallway closet. Father, mother, 2 young children. They did everything right, followed all the safety guidelines, held each other as the house disintegrated around them. When rescuers found them the next day, they were still holding each other. All 4 had died together. One woman spent weeks searching through debris fields, looking for her grandmother's wedding ring. She finally found it half a mile from where her house had stood, bent, scratched, barely recognizable. When she picked it up, she cried. Not because of the ring itself, but because it was all that was left of everything her grandmother had given her. April 28, TH. 2 a.m., Alabama sat in darkness. Just generators and flashlights as rescue crews worked through debris, listening for voices, for movement, mostly finding silence. Survivors filled gymnasiums, Red Cross cots, emergency blankets, bulletin boards covered with notes, looking for John Davis. Have you seen Mary Thompson? Some families reunited, others kept searching. Hospitals overflowed. Tuscaloosa, Huntsville Hospital, Birmingham medical centers, broken bones, head trauma, crush injuries. Doctors on 20-hour shifts. Some hospitals on generator power, conducting surgeries by emergency lighting. Blood banks issued urgent calls. People lined up at 3 a.m., waiting hours to donate. Supply shortages developed bandages, splints, pain medication. Ambulances arrived from Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi, bringing equipment and personnel. April 28th, morning. The sun rose on devastation. Aerial footage went national. Entire neighborhoods absent. Brown paths cutting through green landscape. Debris scattered for miles. The death toll climbed. 200, 250, 300, 316. President Obama declared a major disaster. FEMA mobilized. National Guard deployed. 62 tornadoes in Alabama in 18 hours. 4 F5s, 12 F4s, over 1,000 miles. Insurance claims flooding in. Final tally, $10.2 billion. The costliest tornado outbreak in US history. June 2011. 2 months later, FEMA trailers arrived. Temporary housing. Some people would live in them for 3 years. Insurance companies overwhelmed. Claims backed up for months. Families waited while living in shelters, trailers, with relatives. Tuscaloosa debris cleanup, 5 million cubic yards. Enough to fill a football field 60 feet high. Trucks running 24 hours for 6 months.
It is a disaster.
The smell, rot, mold, decay. Cleanup workers wore respirators and hazmat suits. Some developed respiratory problems immediately. Others wouldn't feel effects for years. Hackleberg faced different challenges. Small town, limited tax base. The factory that employed 300 people was gone, never reopening. Some residents left, others refused. One 74-year-old man lived in a FEMA trailer on his foundation slab. This is my home. He'd rebuild himself if necessary. By 2013, Hackleberg had new buildings, but population dropped from Farn 500 to 1,200. 300 never came back. Dr. Siraporn specializes in trauma. After April 27th, her caseload increased dramatically. PTSD settles in quietly. Children who won't sleep. Adults who panic when clouds gather. Families who stopped communicating. One woman brought her 7-year-old daughter. The girl hadn't spoken since April 27th. Trapped in rubble for 3 hours, listening to neighbors screaming. She survived physically. 2 years of therapy before she spoke again. A Tuscaloosa man developed severe anxiety. Any storm triggered panic attacks. Eventually lost his job. The tornado took my house. But it took my mind too. Studies estimate 30-40% of survivors show PTSD symptoms. Depression, anxiety, survivor's guilt. Questions that persist for years. Why did I survive? Why was my house spared? The outbreak forced reforms nationwide. NOAA reviewed warning systems. Lead times improved. The Storm Prediction Center refined forecast models. Tornado emergency became standardized, reserved for violent, confirmed tornadoes in populated areas. The first use, May 22nd, 2011, Joplin, Missouri.
I got it. Stop. We need to
Another F5, 161 dead. But people responded differently to tornado emergency. They sheltered immediately. It saved lives. Building codes updated. Alabama passed new requirements in 2012. New construction must include safe rooms or reinforced interior spaces rated for F5 winds. Schools required hardened shelters. Within 3 years, 400 Alabama schools installed shelters. Cost, $50 million statewide, funded by FEMA and state bonds. Safe rooms became standard in new homes. Before 2011, rare, expensive. After 2011, expected. Steel-reinforced rooms cost $3,000, $6,000, about the same as a bathroom remodel. Some communities built public shelters, free and open to all. On April 27th, many died simply because they had nowhere safe to go. Weather technology improved. Push notifications for severe weather. GPS-based alerts tied to your location. These tools didn't exist in 2011. They do now.
And those exact technologies are actually things we're working with.
Every April 27th, Alabama remembers.
It woke a lot of people up.
Vigils in small towns, ceremonies in cities, moments of silence. Tuscaloosa plants trees, one for every life lost. Hackleburg built a memorial wall, 72 names in stone. The wall faces west, toward where the tornado came from. Birmingham survivors gather annually. They stand together quietly, remembering, because April 27th changed them, changed their cities, changed how they see the sky. 2024, 13 years after, Tuscaloosa rebuilt. New neighborhoods, new businesses, life continues. But scars remain for those who know where to look. Streets where trees are younger, houses that are newer, built in different styles. On April 27th each year, the city pauses, a moment of silence, a remembrance. Hackleberg still exists, smaller and changed. The factory never reopened. Young people moved away. The ones who stayed rebuilt their lives. They're different now, harder. They've survived something most people can't imagine. Smithville, Mississippi has a sign, Smithville strong. 14 died, 886 lived, both numbers remembered. April 25, 28th, 2011, 4 days, 362 confirmed tornadoes, 348 killed, over 2,400 injured, $10.2 billion in insured losses. Total economic impact, $15-20 billion when including uninsured losses, lost wages, business interruptions, long-term healthcare, mental health treatment. 4 F5 tornadoes, 12 F4s, the largest, deadliest tornado outbreak in modern American history. But numbers don't tell the real story. They don't tell you about Danielle Downs, who never made it to graduation, or the woman who searched for her grandmother's ring, or the man holding a photograph of his daughter, or the 7-year-old who stopped talking, or the families who held each other as their world came apart. Those are the stories numbers can't capture, the trauma that doesn't end when sirens stop, the fear that doesn't fade when skies clear, the losses unmeasured by dollars. There's a forest in Tuscaloosa along the tornado's path. The surviving trees are twisted, bent at impossible angles, stripped of bark, missing branches. But they're alive. Every spring they bloom, slower than surrounding trees. Smaller blossoms, but they bloom, because that's what survivors do. They endure, they heal.
And I'm gonna make it through this, and I'm gonna walk again.
They bloom again. April 27th, 2011. The day 316 people died. The day that rewrote the record books. The tornado year that changed everything. The scars remain in the landscape, brown paths through green, places where soil looks different, where trees are younger, where architecture suddenly changes. The scars remain in survivors who flinch at dark clouds, who check forecasts obsessively every spring, who have shelters stocked and evacuation plans memorized. The scars remain in the way Alabamians watch the sky. The outbreak ended on April 28th, 2011. But for those who lived through it, in many ways, it never really did.
I consider myself real lucky. I mean, to be able to stand up and see my family was pretty amazing.